back, but now I'm trophied up. I'm saying like, boom, bop, boom, 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 bop, bam.
Every day I dress all black, for sure 900 bags. To the east, I'll double that.
All I do is win, 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 no matter what. Got money on my mind, I can never get enough.
With just one touch, I can feel.
Breaking. Tennis star Alex Eala obliterates disrespectful reporter with just 15 words. The entire arena erupted. Listen up, tennis fanatics, because what I'm about to tell you is the kind of drama that makes Hollywood scriptwriters weep with envy. We're talking about a moment so explosive, so perfectly executed, that it's been replaying on sports channels across 3 continents for the past 72 hours straight. The Philippines' golden girl, Alex Eala, just delivered the most devastating clapback in recent sports history, and she did it with the kind of ice-cold precision that would make assassins jealous. We're diving deep into the verbal destruction that is everyone from Manila to Moscow talking, and then we're breaking down the absolute chaos that's about to unfold in the upcoming tennis season. Trust me when I say you cannot afford to miss a single word of this, because the aftershocks of what happened at the SEA Games are still rippling through the tennis world like a tsunami of sweet, sweet justice. But first things first, can we just take a moment to acknowledge something incredible? This channel, this community, this family we're building together has officially smashed through the 1,500 subscriber milestone, like Sabalinka, through a forehand winner. Every single person who clicked that subscribe button, who dropped a comment arguing with us about rankings, who shared our videos with their tennis-obsessed friends. You are the reason we're here. You're not just subscribers, you're part of something bigger. We're creating the most passionate, most knowledgeable, most unfiltered tennis community on this entire platform. And honestly, we're just warming up. The best is absolutely yet to come, and I need you along for this wild ride. Now, let's get into the absolute madness that erupted at the 33rd Southeast Asian Games, because what transpired there is the stuff of legend. Picture this scene. The press area, cameras everywhere, journalists from across the region gathered to cover the event, and in walks Alex Eala, fresh off another dominant performance, ready to handle the usual post-match pleasantries. You know the drill. Routine questions about her game, her strategy, her feelings about representing the Philippines. Standard stuff. Boring, even. But apparently, one reporter from Myanmar missed the memo about professionalism and decided this was his moment to become internet infamous for all the wrong reasons. This guy, whose name frankly doesn't deserve to be remembered, launched into what witnesses described as an unprovoked verbal assault on one of Asia's brightest tennis stars. He didn't ask a question. He delivered an attack. He called Alex, and I quote, an overhyped athlete, right to her face. Let that sink in for a second. A 19-year-old who has carried the hopes of an entire nation on her shoulders, who has battled through the brutal professional circuit, who has earned every single accolade through blood, sweat, and tears, was being dismissed as overhyped by someone whose athletic accomplishments probably peaked at recreational badminton. But the disrespect didn't end there. This reporter then proceeded to mock her aggressive playing style, claiming it was unsuitable for the Asian sports arena, as if there's some kind of unwritten rule about how Asian athletes are supposed to play tennis. The audacity was breathtaking. The disrespect was palpable. The room went from buzzing with energy to dead silent in approximately 3 seconds flat. Here's where champions separate themselves from everyone else, though. Lesser athletes would have lost their composure. They would have shouted, called for security, stormed off in tears, or worse, said something that would get them fined or suspended. Not Alex Eala. According to multiple eyewitnesses who were in that room, she didn't raise her voice even a decibel. She didn't show anger on her face. Instead, she did something far more terrifying. She locked eyes with this reporter, and her gaze was described by one journalist as colder than a Siberian winter. The entire room held its breath as Alex calmly, deliberately, walked toward the man who had just tried to humiliate her in front of the international media. The tension in that moment was apparently suffocating. People in the room said you could hear hearts beating. Alex leaned in close to the reporter, close enough that only those immediately nearby could hear, and she whispered exactly 15 words. That's all it took. 15 carefully chosen words delivered with the precision of a championship-winning ace. Now, the exact words have been kept under wraps. Some say it's because Alex made a comment so cutting that repeating it would be considered assault. Others claim she invoked something deeply personal that shut the man down completely. What we do know is the effect was instantaneous and devastating. The reporter, who had been so loud and confident just moments before, was left completely speechless. His jaw literally dropped open. His face, according to witnesses, cycled through approximately 7 different shades of red before settling on a sickly pale color. The man looked like he'd just been hit by a freight train made of pure embarrassment. And then, the most beautiful thing happened. The entire room, filled with journalists who had watched this unprovoked attack unfold, erupted into thunderous applause. Cameras flashed. Reporters who had been furiously typing moments before looked up and started clapping. Even the officials standing at the back of the room were nodding with approval. It was the ultimate validation, the perfect mic drop moment that you usually only see in movies. Alex had defended not just herself, but every athlete who has ever been unfairly criticized by someone who couldn't last 5 minutes doing what they do. She proved that you don't need to scream or throw a tantrum to destroy someone who disrespects you. Sometimes, the quietest responses are the loudest statements. The internet, predictably, has gone absolutely nuclear trying to figure out what those 15 words were. Reddit threads have been created. Twitter detectives have interviewed anyone who was even remotely near the press conference. Some claim she said something along the lines of, "Your words mean nothing coming from someone who's achieved nothing," which would be devastating in its simplicity. Others insist it was something more specific, perhaps a reference to his credentials or lack thereof. One particularly popular theory suggests she simply said, "Watch me prove you wrong on every single court I step on, starting today," which would be both a promise and a threat. Whatever the exact words were, the message was crystal clear. Alex Eala is not someone you take cheap shots at. She's not here to tolerate disrespect from anyone, regardless of their position or platform. She's here to dominate, to represent her country with pride, and to shut down anyone foolish enough to doubt her. But here's the thing about true champions. They don't let drama derail them for even a millisecond. While the internet is still dissecting that press conference moment frame by frame, Alex has already moved on to her next challenge. She collected her SEA Games gold medal, soaked in the applause from the crowd that had watched her destroy the competition, and immediately caught a flight to Macau, China. The girl doesn't do downtime. She doesn't do rest. She barely does sleep, apparently. This isn't just any exhibition tournament, either. Alex has been drafted into Team Li Na, captained by the legendary Chinese tennis icon herself, 2-time Grand Slam champion, and the woman who basically put Asian tennis on the global map. Being chosen for Li Na's team is like getting knighted in the tennis world. The opposition? Team Conchita Martinez, led by the Spanish legend who won Wimbledon and coached Garbiñe Muguruza to Grand Slam glory. This is the kind of company that separates the rising stars from the shooting stars. This is where you prove you belong in conversations with the best. The schedule is absolutely loaded with must-watch matches. On December 28th, Alex is set for what might be the most anticipated matchup of the entire event, a singles showdown against world number 9 Mira Andreeva. For those who don't know, Andreeva is the Russian teenage prodigy who has been terrorizing the WTA Tour with a game that's equal parts power and finesse. She's beat Aryna Sabalenka. She's beaten Iga Swiatek. She's won WTA 1000 titles at an age when most players are still trying to crack the top 100. This is a legitimate blockbuster, a clash between two of the brightest young talents in world tennis, both representing different corners of the tennis universe, both hungry to prove they're the future of the sport. This is the kind of match that could headline a Grand Slam, and we're getting it as an exhibition. The tennis gods are smiling on us, folks. But wait, there's more. On December 27th, before that singles rubber, we're being treated to a mixed doubles spectacle that's going to be absolute chaos in the best possible way. Alex will partner with China's rising star Zhang Junqing to take on Andreeva and Wu Yibing. Mixed doubles and exhibition formats are always entertaining because the pressure is off just enough that players try ridiculous shots they'd never attempt in a regular tournament. You get diving volleys, around the post winners, and trash talk that would make a basketball player blush. For fans in the United States, the Tennis Channel has the broadcast covered, which means you can watch from the comfort of your couch with your coffee and your commentators. For the passionate supporters back in the Philippines who have been following Alex's journey since she was a kid hitting balls against a wall, the BLAST TV app will have all the action streaming live. Set your alarms, clear your schedules, and get ready. Because if Alex's performance at the SEA Games was any indication of her current form, she's playing with something to prove and a chip on her shoulder the size of Mount Everest. That makes her the most dangerous player on any court. Speaking of dangerous players and things to prove, we need to pivot to the elephant in the tennis stadium, the rapidly approaching 2026 season. The Australian summer swing is about to kick off, which means the Australian Open is right around the corner, which means the first Grand Slam of the year is nearly here, which means it's time for predictions, hot takes, and enough speculation to fuel 1,000 debate threads. The off-season has been filled with training montages on Instagram, cryptic posts about new levels, and enough fitness content to make us all feel guilty about eating that third slice of pizza. But now the talking stops and the playing begins, and the burning questions that have been keeping tennis fans up at night are about to get answered. Let's start at the summit of Mount WTA, shall we? The question that has everyone from casual fans to seasoned analysts arguing in comment sections is this: can Aryna Sabalenka hold onto the world #1 ranking for another year? Is the Tiger of Belarus, the woman who has turned the top of women's tennis into her personal territory, going to finish a third consecutive season sitting on the throne? After consulting with experts, analyzing the data, and watching approximately 400 hours of recent tennis, the consensus is a resounding, emphatic yes. When January 1st rolls around, Sabalenka will have held the #1 spot for 63 consecutive weeks, totaling 71 weeks overall in her career. Iga Swiatek, the Polish powerhouse and former longtime #1, is lurking at #2, sitting approximately 1,500 points behind. For context, Swiatek has spent an incredible 125 weeks at #1 during her career, which is a testament to her sustained excellence. But momentum in tennis is everything, and right now, all the momentum belongs to Sabalenka. Why are we so confident in predicting another year of Sabalenka dominance? It comes down to the Grand Slams, the 4 majors that offer a bounty of 2,000 ranking points each to the champion and represent the ultimate measuring stick in tennis. Nobody, and I mean absolutely nobody, has played the majors better than Aryna Sabalenka over the past few years. In 2025 alone, she reached 3 Grand Slam finals and captured the US Open title, banking over 5,000 ranking points just from those 4 tournaments. That's nearly half of her total points for the entire year, coming from just 4 events. Think about that level of consistency for a moment. She's won 3 of the last 7 Grand Slams she's entered. Over her last dozen major appearances, she's won 4 titles, reached 3 additional finals, and made 4 semifinals. Her worst result during that stretch was a quarterfinal exit at Roland Garros in 2024, which most players would consider a successful tournament. That's not just consistency, that's dominance. The numbers from 2025 paint an even more impressive picture of her sustained excellence. Out of 16 tournaments entered, she reached the semifinals 12 times and the finals 9 times. She only lost an opening round match once the entire year. When you're that consistent, week after week, tournament after tournament, on clay, grass, and hard courts, in different time zones and different conditions, you become virtually impossible to dethrone. Other players have to play perfect tennis just to have a chance, while Sabalenka can play at 85% and still win most matches. That's the mark of a true #1. So while Iga Swiatek is an incredible player with multiple Grand Slam titles and the talent to reclaim the top spot, 2026 is looking like it's going to be another year of the Tiger. The rest of the tour is basically fighting for second place unless someone dramatically elevates their game or Sabalenka suffers an unexpected slump or injury. Now let's move to one of the most exciting storylines brewing in the top 10. Who's going to win their first Grand Slam in 2026? This question is particularly juicy because half of the current top 10 already has major trophies gathering dust on their shelves, which means the field of potential first-time winners is actually quite limited. But there's one name that keeps coming up in every prediction, every expert analysis, every coffee shop conversation among tennis nerds, Amanda Anisimova. The American talent is 24 years old, which puts her squarely in what many consider the absolute prime years for tennis players. She's not a teenager still figuring out the tour like Mira Andreeva. She's not on the wrong side of 30 trying to hold on to past glory like some of her competitors. She's in the sweet spot where physical ability meets mental maturity meets competitive hunger. The Wimbledon final earlier in 2025 could have fuel. She came back stronger, more determined, and with a point to prove. That kind of resilience, that ability to turn disappointment into motivation, is what separates champions from everyone else. Assuming she stays healthy and avoids any major injuries, it's no longer a question of whether Amanda Anisimova will win a Grand Slam. It's a question of which one she'll win first and how many she'll ultimately collect. The 2026 season feels like the year when the American finally breaks through and lifts one of those massive trophies, and when she does, it's going to feel inevitable in hindsight. This brings us to perhaps the most fascinating domestic rivalry in tennis right now, the battle for American supremacy. Who will finish 2026 as the #1 American player? Will it be the established superstar Coco Gauff, who has been a fixture in the top 5 seemingly forever despite being barely old enough to rent a car? Or will it be the surging challenger Amanda Anisimova, who's knocking on the door of the absolute elite? This is going to be the civil war of women's tennis, and frankly, it might be more entertaining than the actual race for world #1. Coco Gauff has been a top 10 player since she was basically a teenager. For the past 3 years, she's held down that #3 ranking with the consistency of a metronome, sitting right behind the big two of Sabalinka and Swiatek. She won her second career Grand Slam at Roland Garros in 2025 at just 21 years old, cementing her status as one of the best players of her generation. People love to criticize her forehand or nitpick her serve, but the reality is she's perhaps the best mover on the entire WTA Tour and one of the fiercest competitors the sport has ever seen. Just look at her ridiculous 9-0 record in hardcourt finals. The girl doesn't lose when it matters most on the surface she grew up playing on. However, the argument for Anisimova potentially overtaking Gauff is compelling. If Anisimova wins a Grand Slam in 2026, which many are predicting she will, the point swing could be absolutely massive. Right now, as we stand here at the end of 2025, less than 500 points separate these two American stars in the rankings. That's nothing. That's one good tournament or one bad tournament away from flipping. It's neck and neck, tooth and nail, a dogfight that's going to last all year long. Anisimova has a challenging road in the second half of the year because she'll have to defend all those points from her 2 Grand Slam finals in 2025, which means she can't afford any early losses in the majors. But the first half of 2026 is wide open territory for her, a chance to build a points cushion before the defending pressure kicks in. Gauff is the model of consistency and will be difficult to overtake, but Anisimova has the higher ceiling for growth and improvement. This battle is going to give us storylines all year long, and whichever American finishes on top is going to have earned it through blood, sweat, and probably a few tears. Then we have the enigma wrapped in a riddle wrapped in a Kazakh flag, Elena Rybakina. Fresh off a strong finish to 2025, can the Ice Queen capture another Grand Slam in 2026? This is genuinely a 50-50 proposition. When Rybakina is locked in mentally and, critically, when her body is healthy, her power game is absolutely overwhelming. She hits the ball harder than almost anyone on tour. She can blow opponents off the court with her serve and forehand combination. She's won Wimbledon before, so she knows what it takes to hold a major trophy. But injuries and inconsistency have plagued her career, turning her from a sure thing into more of a wild card. In 2025, though, she showed signs of figuring it out. She looked energized and motivated down the stretch, qualifying for the WTA Finals in Riyadh somewhat late in the season, and then absolutely destroying the field to win the title. She went 5-0 against top 10 players in that tournament, beating Swiatek and Anisimova in the group stages, and then taking down Sabalenka in the final. That's the version of Rybakina that wins Grand Slams, confident, healthy, and hitting through everyone. The problem is there are only 4 majors to go around each year. If Sabalenka and Swiatek take their usual share of titles, and Anisimova or Gauff grabs one, The window gets very narrow very quickly. But Rybakina has one thing working in her favor. She's not afraid of anyone. Her head-to-head records against the absolute best players on tour are respectable, sometimes even favorable. She's proven she can beat anyone on her day. Her best chance is undoubtedly Wimbledon, where she won the title in 2022 and reached the semifinals in 2024. The grass suits her game perfectly, neutralizing some of the movement advantages. She's one of the most dangerous players in the draw. But it's a gamble. She didn't get past the fourth round at a major in 2025 before that late-season surge, so she needs to bring that championship mentality earlier in the season if she wants to add to her Grand Slam collection. Finally, we need to talk about the teenager who might be the most talented player on the entire planet, Mira Andreeva. After a season that featured dizzying highs and frustrating lows, will she bounce back to the brilliance she showed early in 2025? Remember, this girl was only 17 years old when she won the WTA 1000 tournament in Dubai, becoming the youngest champion ever at that level of competition. Then she immediately went to Indian Wells and beat Aryna Sabalenka in the final. She was on a 13-match winning streak in WTA 1000 events. She was 20-3 for the year. Those aren't human numbers for a 17-year-old. Those are video game numbers. But then reality set in. The grind of the professional tour, the travel, the pressure, the physical demands all caught up to her. The rest of her year was a more pedestrian 20 wins and 13 losses. She was still good, still dangerous, but no longer invincible. So what happens in 2026? The smart money is on a bounce-back year. She's a year older, a year wiser, a year stronger physically and mentally. She has the legendary Conchita Martinez in her corner as her coach, which means she's getting guidance from someone who has been exactly where she is and knows how to navigate the challenges. The expectation isn't necessarily that she'll replicate that insane start to 2025, because let's be honest, that was historically good and probably not sustainable, but that she'll be more consistent throughout the entire season. She needs to manage her schedule more intelligently, perhaps play fewer doubles matches that drain energy, skip some smaller tournaments to stay fresh for the big events, and focus on accumulating points in singles where her future truly lies. If she does that, we're expecting her to finish the year strong, maybe capture a title or two in the back half of the season, and cement herself firmly in the top 10. She's still growing into her body. She's still learning the mental side of the game. She's still developing the physical endurance needed for deep runs at every tournament. And that's a terrifying prospect for everyone else on tour, because if this is Mira Andreeva still learning and growing, what happens when she fully matures and puts it all together? So there you have it, the complete picture of what's about to unfold in the tennis world. From the delicious drama of Alex Eala reducing a disrespectful reporter to rubble with just 15 perfectly chosen words, to her immediate pivot to competition in Macau without missing a beat, to the high-stakes predictions for the 2026 season that's about to explode into action. We're looking at a year packed with rivalries, redemption arcs, breakthrough moments, and records being shattered. The Australian Open is going to set the tone. Roland Garros will test everyone's physical and mental limits. Wimbledon will crown champions on the most prestigious courts in tennis. The US Open will provide the dramatic conclusion we always crave. And throughout it all, we'll be tracking every upset, every triumph, every tearful defeat, and every glorious victory. But now I need to hear from you, because this community isn't just me talking at a camera, it's a conversation. What do you think those 15 words were that Alex Eala whispered to that reporter? Drop your best guesses in the comments because some of you are creative geniuses and I want to see what you come up with. Who's your pick for the #1 American spot at the end of 2026? Team Coco or Team Amanda? Can Aryna Sabalenka actually be stopped? Or is she going to steamroll through another year of dominance? Will this be the year Anisimova finally breaks through and wins her first major? Is Rybakina going to stay healthy and make another Wimbledon run? Will Mira Andreeva bounce back to her early 2025 form? Get into the comments right now and let me know your predictions, your hot takes, your bold calls that you're willing to stake your reputation on. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the drama and the upcoming season, do not leave this video without absolutely destroying that like button. Seriously, click it so hard your mouse complains. It genuinely helps the channel grow, which means we can bring you even more exclusive updates, even more in-depth analysis, even more coverage of the moments that matter. And if you somehow still haven't subscribed to this channel, what are you even doing? Hit that subscribe button right now and turn on those notifications so you never miss a moment of the action. We just crossed 1,500 subscribers, which is incredible, but let's not stop there. Let's aim for 2,000, then 5,000, then 10,000 and beyond. We're building something special here, and I want you to be part of it from the ground floor. Thanks for spending this time with me, for being part of this passionate tennis community, and for caring about this beautiful sport as much as I do. This is Champions Tennisistics, where we bring you the stories, the stats, and the drama that make tennis the greatest sport on the planet. Now get out there and tell someone about that press conference moment, because stories this good deserve to be shared. I'll see you in the next one, and until then, keep watching, keep arguing in the comments, and keep loving this game.